If you followed the rail strike this past week, you probably know two things. One, you know that the press has not disappointed. They have trotted out every anti-worker talking point in the book to try and turn the public against the strikes. So far, it's not working. And one of the major reasons for that is the second thing that you probably know. You know the name Mick Lynch. He's the Secretary General of the union whose members have been striking, and his performances on TV, I think, are a major reason in why the public continues to support the strikes. He has delivered smackdown after smackdown to Tory MPs and TV journalists over this past week, and in this video I've compiled 7 of the best of those clips for your viewing pleasure. Also, if you'd like to find out why rail workers have been striking, these videos are a very good way to find out.
The government is saying that they are going to bring in agency workers. My question to you is, I'm guessing that some of your members will still stay on the picket lines. What will they do if agency workers try to cross those picket lines?
Well, we will picket them. What do you think we'll do? We run a picket line and we'll ask them not to go to work. Do you not know how a picket line works?
What if they do anyway? I very much know how a picket line works. I'm much older than I look, Mr. Lynch. What will picketing involve?
Well, you can see what picketing involves. I can't believe this line of questioning. Picketing is standing outside the workplace to try and encourage people who want to go to work not to go to work. What else do you think it involves?
And what if they want... Well, I just wondered what else it might involve, because I very well remember the picket lines of the 1980s,
where are you going with your...
Mr. Lynch. I'm asking you what your members would do, Mr. Lynch.
Which picket lines are you talking about?
The miners' strikes. Miners' strike.
Yeah. Well, does it look like the miners' strike? What
no,
are you talking about?
No, it doesn't, Mr. Lynch, and I'm just asking, I'm just to clarify.
Seems to have gone off into the world of the surreal.
No, Mr. Lynch, and I'm sorry if you feel the need to ridicule me, but I'm just asking you what you expect your members to do.
But your questions
if agency
are
workers...
verging into the nonsense.
I'm asking you...
Picket as effectively as we can.
And what does that involve?
Look, there it is. That's what it involves.
So you won't stop agency workers crossing the picket line?
We will try to stop agency workers crossing the picket line by asking them not to go to work. What is it you're suggesting we will do?
I'm just asking you. I'm trying to clarify for the benefit of the British public who are being stopped from travelling around the country, Mr. Lynch. I'm just trying to clarify exactly what your members would do. Ask politely. Thank you for...
I'm replying to you politely.
To answer the question.
What we will...
OK, Mr. Lynch.
I've answered the question about 6 times. If there are people trying to cross the picket line, we ask them not to cross it.
I'm asking questions on behalf of my viewers this morning, Mr. Lynch. I'm very sorry if you find it offensive.
Well, let's not forget, during that period, these train operating companies and the rolling stock leasing companies and the subcontractors made £500 million of profit in the worst year for rail revenue. So what Grant Shapps is actually doing is subsidising private sector profit, dividends and shares. 2 of the companies that I'm dealing with in this dispute, First Group and Go Ahead, are subject to takeover bids of billions of pounds. They're really attractive to private sector investors, and they want to take them over because they know that there's going to be profit, even while the railway is subsidised. So it's not actually true that they're being subsidised to that level. Before COVID, they were subsidised by 6.4 billion. And then in the COVID period, they had to add to that to keep it open because there was no revenue. And what these train operating companies said was, if you don't give us money through the emergency measures, we are going to give you the keys back so that the state can run the railway. And that would have been a more efficient way to run it, actually, because that would have saved £500 million of profit that's going out to these companies.
Mick, if I could just finish for a second. You've lost 20% of the passengers on the railway since COVID.
I haven't lost them.
That's not the fault of you and the
industrial
trains. But we need to encourage those people.
Trains all through that period.
We need to encourage those people back. The worst way in which you can do that is by alienating your customers, by going on strike and making their lives much more difficult.
The worst way you could do it is insist that the fares go up by RPI, ripping off the commuters, but you won't give the workers RPI. The fares go up by RPI every year, the retail price index. That's the government regulations. Last year, profits were made by the train operators, £500 million out of that subsidy you gave went to those companies. First Group and Go Ahead, who we're negotiating with, are both subject to takeovers from private equity companies. They're going to be worth billions because they know that you're going to keep siphoning money from the public purse into private sector operators, just as you're doing in health,
what's
education,
actually happened in the
care.
last 2 years is, in effect, a large swathe of the rails have been
I've got to bring in
so the idea that
I've
this
got to
is
bring in
siphoning profits to the private
First
sector
Group made
is ridiculous.
£100 million profit.
This is
that 3% is a very good offer on the table with modernisation. But you've heard, even now Network Rail are moving to a position where they're saying we will go above 3% with modernisation. And Mick's talking about, you know, modernisation is a scary thing. Modernisation such as installing an app on your phone so you can communicate better with your workers, or having sensors on trains to detect deficiencies in the rail network, I don't think are controversial things. I think they're good things because they means that drivers are safer and ultimately, or people on the rail line as well are safer. And that's what we want to see, the best health and safety we can. And what Mick's doing is undermining the rail network. We know passenger numbers are down by about 20% to pre-pandemic levels. We are in a world where we want to get to a place where we have net zero. That means encouraging more people onto public transport. These strikes are only going to drive people further away from it. And the pay rise that Mick wants will therefore just add more cost to the rail network, making it more unaffordable for more working people. He should be apologising to the doctors and nurses who can't get to hospital, the patients who can't get their operation, the kids who will miss out on their education today, but also those armed forces veterans who risk their lives for our freedoms, who won't be able to celebrate Armed Forces Day on Saturday.
Do you want to apologise for all that, Mick?
Well, I think Jonathan should apologise for talking nonsense. None of that is true. We have got automated technology on trains. We've got pantograph cameras. We've got ultrasonic sensors. We've got things that detect faults on tracks. That is all rubbish. I negotiated that deal with Network Rail myself. We've got on-train technicians, all sorts of new technology that is being deployed. So that is just stuff that's written in Conservative Central Office for backbench MPs to spout,
So no
along
sorry
with their
to veterans,
ministers.
Mick. Okay, so no
Now,
sorry to
I
veterans.
don't want this disruption. I don't want people to be
Good to know veterans are going to be left
inconvenienced, and I
without
want a
celebration.
settlement to this dispute. I can't do that with a backbench MP who's just learnt it off a script.
Well, hang on. Let
we
him
know
respond.
what the,
Well,
we
let him
know
respond
what the
to that.
issues are.
Let me respond. You've said that. The head of the let me finish the point. Hang on, let me finish the point. The head of the rail delivery group this morning on the Today programme said that he didn't want the government in the negotiation. We've made money available to the railway industry. It's up to the employers to negotiate with the trade unions. And what happened this afternoon was halfway through these negotiations, while they were ongoing, the unions came out onto the street and gave an impromptu press conference, I mean, there's TV footage, saying that the strike was going to continue.
OK, let's just pause. Hang on.
I mean, it's on video.
Now, Mick Lynch, excuse me.
Lie.
Mick Lynch, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question. Would you be prepared to negotiate with the Tory government, yes or no?
Absolutely. I've met every Tory transport minister in the last year. Bus, rail, maritime and the Secretary of State. We've never said we won't meet the Tories. What we said was that they're not at the table. I'm negotiating with the employers. You've also lied that we left negotiations on Saturday and went to a rally. There were no negotiations scheduled for Saturday. You are a liar.
Right, let's just hang on.
There's a video of him walking out this afternoon giving a press conference. It's on videotape.
And then we went back to the talks.
Yeah,
You're lying.
having said the strike's going to go ahead.
You are a liar.
OK, well, let's
Said the strikes were going to go ahead.
And you're a liar.
Let's
It's
just
on video.
You're a liar. We were back at the talks this afternoon. We've just left them. And your Network Rail managers delivered statutory redundancy notices to us.
Chris Phillips, let's just talk about the high-wage, high-skills workforce.
Welcome back. Now, Mick Lynch, who's the man leading the strike today for the RMT, is waiting for us at Euston Station. Mr. Lynch, good morning to you. It's going to be a busy day for you today. Can we just get one thing nailed to the wall before we get going here? You've been accused severally in the last few weeks of being a Marxist. It happened again last night. A backbench Tory MP said you were a Marxist with no interest in anything other than trying to tear down the government. Now, are you or are you not a Marxist? Because if you are a Marxist, then you're into revolution and into bringing down capitalism. So, are you or aren't you?
Richard, you do come up with the most remarkable twaddle sometimes, I've got to say.
I didn't say you were a Marxist. I'm saying that you're being accused of being a Marxist, and that's not twaddle. That's called reporting.
No, I'm not. I'm not a Marxist. I'm an elected official of the RMT. I'm a working class bloke leading a trade union dispute about jobs, pay and conditions of service. So it's got nothing to do with Marxism. It's all about this dispute. It's an industrial dispute, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I emphasise I am not talking twaddle and accusing you of being a Marxist. I'm merely quoting people who are, including many of the newspapers.
Well, that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, I'm sorry if it did, but I don't think it was. But anyway, to be absolutely clear, you are not a Marxist. Fine.
Well, we're not special. The whole country is suffering, and we have got a membership and a trade union that is prepared to fight for what we've got. What the rest of the country suffers from is the lack of power, the lack of the ability to organise, and the lack of the wherewithal to take on these employers that are continually driving down wages and making the working class in this country poorer year on year on year, while the rich get richer and dividends are accelerated and the stock market is reasonably healthy. We've got full employment. We've got full employment and falling wages, and that is a situation that has never happened before, and it cannot be tolerated by working people or by the trade union movement.